right, good morning everybody and welcome to another virtual keeper chat here at Buttonwood Park Zoo in New Bedford. You definitely know who we're visiting with today. I couldn't resist getting a shot of our friend Toby licking our glass over here and taking a sip of water. We are here at our black bear exhibit and I am joined by one of the black bear keepers. Oh, we gotta just let you see that ridiculous tongue. We are joined here at the black bear exhibit with one of our zookeepers, Christy.
Hi everybody. Thank you for joining us today, and we're so happy that we can do this for you guys. Sorry you couldn't be here, but hopefully everyone knows that we do have 3 black bears. So this guy right here is Toby. He is 21 years old. We do have 2 other females. We have Amy and Ursula, also 21 years old. Right now Amy and Ursula are hanging out in the back. It's a cool day, and because we're closed to the public, we're letting them sort of hang out wherever they want, and they decided to sleep in today, so that's where those guys are in the back. But right now you can see Toby enjoying some enrichment that we put out for them. So basically what we do for enrichment with these guys, we do a lot of different kinds of enrichment. I think maybe Steph gave you guys a little tutorial about animal enrichment, probably like last week or a few days ago. I'm not exactly sure of the day. But basically there's different kinds of enrichment that we give. So right now we put out a lot of different food enrichment for Toby. So you can see him digging right there in his pile of mulch. But these guys in the fall, they do spend a lot of time foraging. In the fall is that time where they're going to actually put on a lot of weight for the winter. So they'll spend up to 18 hours a day foraging in the fall. So we want to make sure that foraging is important behavior that we want to encourage these guys to do. So we want to encourage that natural foraging behavior. So these guys, their diet does change seasonally out in the wild, but in the summertime these guys are going to eat things like berries, different vegetable matter, as well as loving ant larvae and bee larvae and all that insect. So these guys in the fall, they're going to go for more things like hard mass. So they're going to look for nuts and beeches and all those things that are falling to the ground. In the wintertime, obviously, is when they're going to slow down and hibernate. And in the springtime, once they're coming out of hibernation, that's when they're going to go for a lot of veggie matter, a lot of new growth of plants that are growing up, especially in the wetland area.
Great. All right, we've got a lot of questions already coming in. We love all of these questions, and we have a lot of people saying hello to Toby and loving the bears. I do just want to answer Kevin's quick question. Kevin, Molly was featured in the Virtual Keeper Chats Our Coyote on Tuesday, I believe, so you can go back and rewatch that. She is here. All right, let's see. Let's get to some questions here. How did Toby come to be here at Buttonwood Park Zoo?
So we actually got Toby from Clark's Training Post, so that's up in, I think, New York area, or New Hampshire area. So he did not fit their program up there at Clark's Training Post, so he came here with us. And then our 2 females, Amy and Ursula, were rescued animals, so they were actually orphaned out in the wild, and so they were rescued and then they were found new homes. Those guys, Amy and Ursula, one's from West Virginia and one's from Virginia.
Great. And can you tell us what he is digging for in that mulch?
Yes. So one of the favorite food items for our guys, they love nuts and dried fruits. So right now we hid a bunch of peanuts and dried cranberries in there. So that's what he's looking for. So you can see he's going to use his claws to help dig through as well as his mouth there. He's going to use his sense of smell to try to find the food. And he's enjoying every bit of it.
Nolan, age 8, is wondering a little bit more about the bears' personalities and their training behaviors and just their kind of what they're like.
So yes, definitely each of our bears has their own unique personality. Toby, we call our big ham. He loves to eat. He loves food. He's just pretty easy-go-lucky. Amy and Ursula, we call Ursula our real bear. She is definitely a little pickier with her food. She can be a little, not towards the other bears, she can be a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Have a little bit of an attitude, I guess, towards the other bears. She likes her personal space. And then Amy, she's just our little delicate quiet princess, we call her actually. As far as training goes, we do protected contact with these guys, which means that we do not share the same personal space we do. So we do a lot of training with these guys in our back holding area. We really focus on what we call husbandry behaviors. So those are behaviors that allow us to take care of them. So these guys can do things like voluntary injection, open mouth behavior. Some of the fun things they do, they actually paint, especially Toby. He's great at painting and doing paw prints. Targeting is definitely another one. We do get voluntary weights on them as well, so we do quite a few of those behaviors.
How much does Toby weigh?
His last weigh in, which was last month, he weighed about 450 pounds.
And is that pretty much average?
Yeah, that's about average. The males, for black bears, males tend to be bigger than females, so they can get up to about 500 or 600 pounds, the males, and the females a little bit smaller. They can get around up to 375 pounds.
All right, Christian, age 4, wants to know how bears stay clean. Do they groom themselves like our cats and dogs?
It's funny that you mentioned. I would say Toby's like our bachelor bear. He's not always the cleanest bear, but they do, for the most part, they might do a little cleaning here and there. But for the most part, they do really molt or shed their fur. They'll also rub up around on like logs and trees.
Great. Peyton and Piper are friends who are age 11. They join us every day. Hello, friends. They're wondering a little bit more about black bears as a species. I don't know if we mentioned where they live in the wild, but they're specifically asking if they're an endangered species or if there are any risks to them.
That is a great question. So American black bears are found in North America. So right now, in North America, they can be found in Canada, Alaska. In the U.S., they can also be found in the northern Pacific and the northern central area of the country, as well as the East Coast. So they can be found all the way from Maine down to Florida in the Appalachian Mountains. So as far as federally, they are listed as a species of least concern. They are not endangered. Massachusetts also not. They're also a species of least concern. But there are some states that are endangered, like Texas and maybe Louisiana. There's about 16 different subspecies of black bears, so those are the guys down south tend to be more at risk.
Great. Chloe, age 9, is wondering, you mentioned that they change their diet seasonally. Why do they do that?
So these guys are going to basically eat what's ever available. So that changes out in the wild. That does change seasonally. So in the springtime, there's not much going on, but you will see a lot of vegetation starting to grow in the springtime, and that's what these guys are going to focus on. So it's what's available. In the summertime, that's where you're going to see all the plants have berries. That's where you're going to see all the insects being active and available. So that's what they're going to focus their diet on in the summertime. And then in the fall, when everything's starting to die off, that's where you're going to see a lot of the trees giving nuts and other. Oh, there's a blue jay trying to steal. You can see the blue jay and squirrels in here trying to steal food as well. But in the fall, you'll see a lot of that hard mass, and that's what they're going to eat because that's what's available.
I was going to say, in the back, I don't know if you all can see to the back left of Toby, there is a blue jay and a squirrel, so they're not really hunters so much. They're not going to hunt for things.
Yeah, so black bears are not real good predators. So having said that, they are omnivores, so most of their diet, or about 75% of their diet, is going to be vegetative matter, and then maybe like 10% will be sort of animal matter, and that's like a lot of that's just going to be insects. They will also scavenge as well on any kind of carcasses, but for the most part, they will sometimes take some small prey when available. So they'll usually sort of go for newly born fawns that are just hiding and that aren't able to get away, but they're not the best predators.
Great. Kathy is wondering about family groups of bears. How do they live as families?
So black bears are solitary. With the exception is you will see a mom with her cubs. And so cubs will stay with their moms for about up to 16 months. So during that time, you will see the mom with cubs, but otherwise they're solitary, and they do have home ranges. Male home ranges tend to be larger than females, and they do overlap.
We're going to take a walk to the other viewing area for bears. See if we can keep
you will
watching
sometimes,
him.
in areas where there's a high amount of food available, you will sometimes see black bears out as well together for that very reason, but otherwise they're solitary.
There he is. Do they have a hibernation den here at Buttonwood Park Zoo, and do they hibernate?
So they do have dens in the back, which actually our girls are in right now. They definitely slow down here at the zoo. They definitely move less, they sleep more, they will eat less as well. But because our guys have a constant food source, they do not truly hibernate. So in the really hard winters, I would say there's a couple of days that they might not get up, but for them, they just do move for us in the winter time. And as far as hibernating overall in the North America, hibernation does vary depending on where the animal is. So where you're going to have colder, harsher climates, that's where, like up north, that's where the black bears are going to hibernate longer. Down south, they're going to hibernate for a shorter amount of time, if not even at all.
Great. John is wondering if the bears or the other animals here at the zoo seem to be missing the visitors. Are you noticing any behavior changes?
I would say, as far as our bears go, it's interesting. They do like to sometimes people watch when they're hanging out on exhibits. So usually I'll walk by and we'll see them just sort of check it, watching people as they walk by. But for the most part, they're not. Though us humans do miss everybody coming to the zoo, I would say the black bears, maybe a little bit, but not too much. We're keeping them pretty busy with a bunch of enrichment in their exhibits.
Okay, are they able to catch fish? I know we see a lot of videos of brown bears and grizzly bears catching fish.
Yes. So these guys, they're not big as much of a fish eater as like the grizzly bears, but if it's available, fish carcasses, they'll predate more on that. They will sometimes catch fish, but they're not as much as a grizzly bear.
Could you just, we're getting some questions, maybe folks who are just joining us, remind us of who our bears are they related, who are they, where they came from?
Yeah, so this guy right here is Toby. He is our male. He is 21 years old. He came to us from Clark's Training Post. So he did not fit their program up in Clark's Training Post. That's why he came down here for his forever home. And then Amy and Ursula are our two females. They are both also 21 years old. They were rescued animals, so they actually were orphaned out in the wild. So they were rescued, and then they were able to come here to the Buttonwood Park Zoo. One of them is from Virginia, and the other one's from West Virginia.
Great. Sage, age 6, is wondering if bears can run.
They can. These guys run pretty fast. They can run up to about 30 miles per hour, though they can't sustain it for long, but they can run fast.
Can they swim?
These guys are excellent swimmers, actually. They can swim about 1 mile to 1.5 miles. It actually has been documented of a bear swimming about 9 miles. So they are very good swimmers. Our guy Toby, we do have a pool on exhibit for our bears, and a lot of times Toby will go in there just to splash around, but definitely in the summertime when it's hot to help him cool off.
Great. Silas, age 9, is asking how many species of bears there are in the world. I know we have a sign right over here.
We do.
Here that actually shows you.
There's actually 8 species of bears in the world.
So that shows you where they're all from.
Yes.
And today we're meeting black bears who are from North America. That would be a fun thing for you guys to do some research on at home.
Yeah.
Let's see. What is their natural habitat? I know you said where they're from, but what kinds of habitats do they live in?
So these guys are found in forested woodland areas. A lot of times they'll need thick vegetation to help hide themselves, but also definitely that food source. So they need to have a forest or woodland that's actually able to provide them with a lot of food sources.
Great. So since we have them kind of in areas where our friends are joining us from, will we run into them in the wild? How do we interact with them in our local habitats?
Yeah. So as far as Massachusetts goes, most of our black bear population is probably like west of, or in the western part of the state. So they usually use the Highway 495 as an indicator. So most of The bears are to the west of that. However, black bears in Massachusetts are actually expanding out east. So there are a lot of reports of juvenile males who are dispersing, coming over into the east area. So the most important thing to do is to try to avoid black bears in general, because you got to remember they don't want to really people. So the best way to do that is if you're walking out in the woods, make a lot of noise and just be really loud. And most of the time, black bears just want to avoid you. It's best not to scare them, so that's why being loud actually gives them, they have excellent hearing, so they'll be able to hear you from quite a distance away, and they're going to do their best to try to avoid you. If you do run into a black bear, if you're out hiking, you never run. You always want to slowly walk backwards away from the bear. If they were to try to bluff charge you, you can make really loud noise and just look really big, and most of the time they will also just get away because they really don't want to have to interact with people.
Great. Is this their normal time of year to come out of hibernating?
Yeah, so it depends where they are geographically, depending on how long they're going to hibernate for. But in general, Massachusetts, you'll see them come out anywhere between February to April. A lot of that's going to depend on also how harsh the winter is.
Brody, age 6, is wondering how many babies do they have at once?
So black bears can have anywhere from 1 to 4 cubs. The average is 2.
How long do they stay with their moms?
So black bears can stay with their moms for about up to 16 months. So they actually stay with them for over a year, so that's quite a while. Mom takes care of them and teaches them a lot of ways to survive out in the wild.
You guys can see we have a squirrel down there in the bottom right corner eating some of Toby's almonds, it looks like. And he is interacting with another piece of enrichment, since we've been learning a lot about enrichment through these. He's got a big ball over there that he was just licking, I'm assuming. Something yummy was put on there.
Yes, that is correct. So we want to keep our bears challenged. So out in the wild, again, they're going to spend most of that time foraging. They're going to have to use their claws to dig or to rip off bark. They're going to have to reach up high. These guys are very strong, so they're able to, with one paw, lift heavy rocks and heavy logs, and that's going to help them get food underneath there as well, especially like ant larvae. So we want to make sure that they're also very challenged when they're foraging on exhibit as well. So we'll do on their exhibit, if you can see, there's definitely logs and rocks, and we will hide things under there. That boomer ball is just another way we can keep them challenged. So we'll either stuff things inside it, they'll have to roll it around to get the food out, or sometimes we'll just put things on it. Looks like he's licking off something there.
Peyton and Piper are wondering, are they related to brown bears?
That's actually a really good question. So these guys are not closely related to brown bears. They're actually more closely related to Asian black bears. Now, if you keep going on the evolutionary chain, eventually you're going to find some connection, but they're actually more related to the Asian black bears and not to the grizzly bears.
All right. Cindy is wondering if our particular bears have ever had cubs.
They have not. Both of our females, our male is actually neutered, and we do not do any kind of breeding here. It's not recommended, so they have not had cubs.
Great. So you mentioned that Toby's 21 years old. What is the average lifespan of a black bear?
Out in the wild, they can live up to about 25 years. In captivity, they can live much older than that, maybe into their 30s. I think the oldest on record in captivity might be 44.
Do black bears get along with other bears? Gianna wants to know that.
So black bears, they're solitary. So they are going to try to stay away from not just other black bears, but actually grizzly bears can actually pose a threat to them. So grizzly bears are much bigger than black bears, so they're going to try to avoid grizzly bears as well.
Great. John is very impressed with all the information you know about black bears. I learned something new in all of these keeper chats for sure. Maya, age 7, is wondering, is it like the cartoons? Do they like honey?
They do. Interestingly, out in the wild, they will eat the honey from beehives out in the wild, but they actually love the bee larvae and the actual juvenile bees. So they'll actually eat a lot of that. But our guys definitely here have a sweet tooth. Honey is definitely one of their favorite.
Great. Ooh, Sam, age 6, wants to know if they have a good sense of smell.
Oh, so actually, yes, their sense of smell is probably their best sense. So these guys can actually smell food about over a mile away, and they have their sense of smell is actually 7 times better than a bloodhound. So we all know that dogs have a really good sense of smell. Well, theirs are 7 times better, and probably about 100 times better than humans.
Great. We have a lot of bear fans. I'm just going through a lot of comments. Just one of their favorites when they visit.
Oh, yay!
And a lot of people have run into them in their daily lives out in the world, which is really cool.
So, and definitely as far as black bears go, it's really important, especially if you're living in an area where there are black bears, just to help these guys out and be really smart about it. So we want to make sure that these guys aren't really going into human communities, because that's when they can get into a lot of trouble. So things like bird feeders, making sure, so bird feeders, if you live in black bear country, you don't really want to put bird feeders out. Maybe you can get away with putting them out in the wintertime when they're hibernating, but you don't want to put anything out that's going to attract black bears to your yard. So that's bird feeders. You don't want to feed pets outdoors. You want to make sure your trash is very secured, and that's just going to help these guys from not interacting negatively with humans and keeping them out in their forested areas.
Great. Nolan, age 8, has a great question. I know you mentioned how much he can weigh, about 400 pounds?
He weighed, his last weigh-in was 450 pounds.
And he's wondering, how tall is he when he stands on his back legs?
Yep. So black bears, again, depending on if it's a male or female and what area of the country you're in, but they can reach up to anywhere from 4 to 7 feet up on their hind legs. So Toby probably is about 6 feet when he's standing all the way up on his hind legs. So he's pretty tall.
So that's another great activity you guys can do at home with your parents. You can out 6 feet and see how tall Toby would be compared to you. Savannah, can they climb trees?
Yes. So black bears are excellent climbers. Now that does sort of change as they get older. They're definitely much more apt to climb trees when they're younger, and that sort of declines as they get older, which I think every person can relate to. But yes, they're excellent climbers. They will climb for food, and they will also climb as a defense. So if they need to, especially cubs, so if they need to get away from a potential predator, they can climb up trees.
Great. Grace, age 4, is wondering how much they eat and what do they eat in a day?
Our guys right now, here at the zoo, we feed them. We do feed them a variety in their diet. So their main diet is going to be produce. So we'll give them vegetables and fruit. So they'll eat things like carrot, romaine lettuce, sweet potato, grapes, apples. They love grapes and apples. That's probably one of their favorite. We'll also give them what's called bear chow. So that's actually, it's like a dog food or kibble, but made specifically for black bears or omnivores. So we'll give them that. Then we'll also provide them with nuts and different fruits.
Oh boy.
Occasionally we'll give them some worms.
Toby is definitely ready for his morning.
Yes, he's starting
He
to
just
sneeze.
curled up here. I'll take a couple more questions. Elena, age 7, wants to know if they have predators.
They do. So humans would be one of those, especially in Massachusetts. These guys are a game species, so there is hunting. It's a limited season for black bears in Massachusetts, but so humans are one of those. And then also, especially if they're younger, things like grizzly bears, again, depending on the area where you live, or where they live, I should say, but other like grizzly bears, and when they're smaller, things like wolves and coyotes can also predate them.
Great. And a favorite question from these keeper chats has been, so I'll put you on the spot too.
Oh, no.
Like everybody else, they always want to know if the bears have a favorite keeper.
Honestly, as far as the black bears go, I would say, I mean, I could say me, but I won't.
Well, how long have you been working with them?
Because Jess did say Molly, so that Molly was her favorite. I've been working. I've been working with them for quite a while. We do a lot of training with them, so I would have to say that maybe each bear, their trainers are probably their favorite, just because we do a lot with them and we build a good relationship with them. So for Toby, that would be either myself or Kerry. Maybe Ursula would be myself. So yeah, maybe me.
That's all right. It's okay. All right. Well, we want to thank everyone for joining us today. Toby is definitely ready for us to let him snooze, I think. So thank you, Christy, for sharing all that awesome information about black bears. Hopefully you all are enjoying these daily keeper chats. We're here every day at 11. Maybe you'll all take a little bear snooze today too, like Toby's doing. Thank you to everyone who joined us, and thank you to those of you who have been seeing the donations coming in. We really appreciate your time. Those will all go towards our emergency fund for the Buttonwood Park Zoological Society, who have been bringing these keeper chats to you every day and trying just to connect our visitors with our zoo. So we hope to see you again tomorrow, and thank you so much.